A lot of times if a gobbler moves off of your first setup and you try and get set up on him again, probably 75% of the time you're not going to be able to get set up on him right. You might have to go another time. You might have to go 3 times, 4 times, 5 times to get set up on that bird right to where he feels comfortable to come into you. But there's also times where he's not even going to do that. He's just got it in his mind that he's either going to his hens, or he's going to a strut zone, or he's going somewhere that he wants to go. He wants you to follow him. Well, those birds aren't necessarily killable unless you can get on the spot he wants to be before he gets there. Then you can kill him. Following a bird around the woods isn't going to do any good. It's like elk hunting. You can't ever catch up to an elk going up the mountain. You know, in the morning, those elk are bugling. You think, hey, he's only 100 yards above me, I'm going to go after him. Well, he's 100 yards above you now. 5 minutes from now, he's 200, he's 300, he's 400. You can't catch him. Gobblers are a lot of times the same way. Unless you can run him down to where he wants to be, you're going to keep following him around all day, and it's just going to waste your time. So I'll give a bird maybe 3 or 4 setups. If I can't get set up on him right after the 4th setup, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to find another bird because this isn't going to work out today. I'll come back to him tomorrow. I'm going to leave him be. That's the other thing too. You don't want to pressure birds too much, especially right away in the early season. You don't want to be on one bird for, let's say, 8 hours a day, just hounding him, you know, calling at him, whatever, trying to get him to come in. It puts more pressure on him, and eventually he's not going to gobble back to you anymore. Let's say the next day or the day after when you call him, he's going to shut down. He's going to say, hey, I'm not gobbling at anything because I saw some movement the other day and it surely wasn't a hen. It looked like a predator. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to stay alive. But so what I do then is go out and strike another bird. Best thing I found in the middle of the morning, or let's say early afternoon, is to use a crow call for a locator. And I can't do this with my mouth. A lot of guys can do it on a diaphragm call. I can't. But I've got a crow call. Pretty simple. It's just a bite call. Put your teeth where these grooves are here on the call, and you bite down and blow. And it sounds something like this. And you want to do it loud and fast. You want that to be a sound when the woods are quiet, and all of a sudden you go, that gobbler's going to, oh, he's shocked, you know, oh, where'd that sound come from? It's a loud noise. Loud noises will get gobblers to sound off more than anything. Air horns from semis. Thunder's the best thing. You get in a thunderstorm, you'll hear gobblers gobbling all around you that you never knew were there. Crow calls especially, you can't be real passive with them because it doesn't necessarily make anything sound off. It won't make that gobbler shock gobble. If you're calling, it's not really anything that's going to make him want to hammer back at you. It's like, oh yeah, I hear that all the time, and I'm walking along, and that doesn't really frighten me or startle me to wanting to gobble. I mean, that's what the shock gobble essentially does. It's not necessarily scaring that gobbler, but it's startling him and making him sound off. So like I said, you want to be real aggressive with it. 3, maybe a lot of times too, what I've noticed is with crow calls especially, hit them 4 or 5 times. 1 time doesn't necessarily always do it. Get a little, mix it up a little bit, you know how crows sound. They growl, they do this, they do that. Sound realistic, but also sound loud and sharp, so it gets in that gobbler's eardrum and makes him want to gobble at you. If that doesn't work, I'll take out a box. Normally a boat paddle is going to work the best, but got my little one-sider here, and take out my box and I'll cut. And normally what I'm going to be is up on a ridge somewhere high on a bench, whatever, overlooking a meadow, overlooking somewhere where I'm thinking those birds are going to be. A lot of times in the morning they're going to be out in fields feeding, they're going to be in meadows, they're going to be out in the open, especially on a bright sunny day, strutting for their hens, feeding, whatever. What this does is it's another locator call. Cutting essentially for a hen is an aggressive call. She's either mad at another hen saying, hey, get away from me, or she's saying to a gobbler, hey, I want to breed right now, come to me. But when you're cutting in this manner, where you're just walking along trolling for birds, and you just That's just saying gobble back at me, basically. That's just like the crow call. It's another locator call. If one hammers at you, figure out how to get on him where he's not going to see you and you can get within 150 yards or so of him. Or if he's on a field edge or out in the middle of a field, you know, get as close as you can. Closer the better, as long as he won't see you. You know, people always say, get as close as you dare and then go 10 yards more, or get us to the closest tree you can to his roost and then go to the next tree, which a lot of times is a good idea. You're going to get busted once in a while doing it, but being aggressive like that really cuts the odds down that he's going to get intercepted by another hen, or a coyote's going to come in and scare him off, or a fox, or whatever, or another hunter. So so now we've located our bird in the late morning, early afternoon. We're set up on him. Again, start out calling soft. That hen's not going to just at him loud. She's going to be and listen to the cadence of that call. It's that's more of a passive call, but it says, hey, I'm here, anybody around? And if he hammers back at it, I'll normally, I mean, if he hammers it right now, cuts me off, I'll go. I sped it up a little bit. I added a couple cuts saying, hey, yeah, I hear you, come to me. That a lot of times will get him to hammer back again, but don't overcall him. You do that once or twice, then let him gobble on his own for a little bit. So essentially, that's basically how your day's going to progress. You're going to have close calls. You're going to have a gobbler come in. He might even be in gun range, but you just can't get on him. There's brush. He came in from the wrong side, whatever. You just can't get on him. Let him move off. Don't call to him anymore. Let him move off. Let him go 150, 200 yards just out of range so you can get up and move. Move around on him. Get set up in a different spot. Pull out a different call. Don't use the same call you were calling to him from over here. Pull out a different call and start calling to him and see if he'll gobble back at. That's a lot of times too. Pulling out a different call will make different birds gobble. For whatever reason, this bird might gobble at my mouth call. But the next day he might not gobble at my mouth call. The next day he might want to hear a box. He might want to hear a slate. He might want to hear a particular mouth call. I always carry 4 or 5 mouth calls with me. I always carry 4 or 5 slate calls with me. Generally a box or 2. I don't use the box a whole lot except for long range calling because they're really good reach out and touch you call. But to me, I can't get real subtle, real soft in a box. But mix it up. Don't overcall. And pay particular attention to the cadence. More excited that gobbler gets at you, the more excited you get back at him. Put a little aggression in your call, but don't start out aggressively. Start out soft, start out passive. See what he wants to gobble at first. Then let him dictate how aggressive, how much emotion you put in your calling. If you put too much emotion in your calling right away, it might shut him down. He might go the other way. So basically, in a nutshell, that's it. Now